Hello. So I'm about to do a bit of survival testing as part of preparing for a snapshot. And I figure why not share that experience. We'll explore the world and I'll talk a little bit about what we're seeing. And maybe also explain a little bit about what's going on behind the scenes with world generation. We'll play in survival, but I'll set it to creative just in case I need to check something. And off we go. Okay, so in case I forget, here's a seed. Yeah, let's follow the clouds. That'll be our rough direction. Yeah, I guess we do the good old ritual of breaking some trees. I might fast forward past some of these basics. All right, now that I have some basic tools, let's get going. Hello there. So what you don't see is I'm on my other computer. I'm actually running this same seed, but on the previous snapshot, and I'm running a little script that kind of synchronizes the movement, so I can see what things looked like before, just in case there are any interesting differences. And what I hope to do is, well, find some mountains would be fun. I'm probably mostly going to stay out of the caves. I do like the caves a lot, although I am biased, I have to admit. But that's not the focus here because we haven't changed so much in the caves recently because we're actually pretty happy with the caves. But with the overall terrain, we're actually also pretty happy with the terrain, but we've been doing some tweaks, especially with biome placement and things like that. So just want to check that things kind of look right. Plus, honestly, I really enjoy just roaming around, exploring the world. It's really fun. So a nice little village. Let's see if we can find some gear there. I love these two-story houses. Wait, is this an empty village? What? That's boring. Okay, well then they won't mind me stealing some food, I guess. But seriously, I am really curious why there's nobody here. But okay, sure. Oh, there you guys. There you are. Hey. Nice to see that the village is not entirely abandoned. But let's move on. We have a bit of food. And we're good. Let's check what's out there. A clock and a helmet. Thank you very much. See, the thing is, we're playing a survival, and I can be a bit clumsy sometimes. We're probably gonna die sometime along the way because something went wrong. So my plan is to go roughly in this direction, look for some mountains, and camp at night, place beds, and then leave those beds around so that when/if I die, we at least won't have to go all the way back to world spawn. Okay, so while we're here, let me take a quick pause just to explain a little bit about what's going on here. So some people have noticed that there's new stuff down here which wasn't there before. Multi-noise, biome builder, terrain, blah blah blah. I'm going to explain some of these things as we go. So, but high level, these are what we call noise values. So C, for example, which actually is called Continentalness, but we abbreviate things because we don't want this debug screen to be too cluttered. C stands for Continentalness. And as you can see when I walk around, it changes. So in this direction, Continentalness apparently goes up. Another direction, it goes down. We use that to control both the terrain shape and the biome placement. So for example, Continentalness actually works like what it sounds like. Like the further inland you go, that number goes up. Or more like it's the opposite. The higher that number is, the more we're going to generate inland terrain. And when that number goes negative, then we're going to generate oceans. So that's just one example. I'll talk more about these soon. And what I'm hoping to do actually is to get lucky and find a saddle or something, because I kind of like riding. And we made one change that is going to make riding a little bit easier in the new terrain. So if we're lucky, I'll have a chance to show that. Yay, boat. All right. Let's see where this takes us. We've worked quite a lot on rivers to try to make them more kind of traversable and not just always dead end. And it's actually a fun way to explore the world. The problem is, though, if we have too many wide, big rivers, then land travel becomes a pain. So it is a bit of a trade-off. So far, I'm looking at my other screen. The world looks pretty much exactly the same as last snapshot. So we haven't found the interesting bits yet. Although we haven't made any, majorly dramatic changes. But I guess mainly the placement of kind of cold biomes versus hot biomes. So hopefully it should be a little bit more, kind of consistent now, so that we don't have suddenly, a big bunch of snow showing up in the middle of like plains or something. Oh no, it's going to become night. I haven't found my sheep yet. But, oh, village equals beds equals not running around fighting all over the place. Plus, wow, that's nice terrain. And, incidentally, oh, I feel bad. I'm not going to kill the sheep. I'm going to steal a bed instead of take it with me. I don't know. I'm just not in the mood for killing animals unnecessarily. Call me sentimental. Although, just to contradict myself, I might bump into some mountains. And if so, I might need myself some leather boots to not, sink into powder snow. So let's actually sacrifice some cows. Sorry, but it's for a good purpose. 1 leather. I kind of like when the villages climb up slopes like this. A little bit wonky generation sometimes, but interesting. Ah, a bed just for me. All right. Oh, so yeah, I'll steal the bread, but I'll leave some food for these villagers too. Good morning. Hello. What do you have for me? I am gonna steal some of these too because I like making campfires to kind of mark where I've been. I'll just make a little campfire at the top of that hill maybe, just to kind of mark where I've been. Ooh, now that is a view. This is going to be the place. Camp number 1. That's right, I need coal. Okay, no campfire for now. We'll do that later. But this would have been the spot. Okay, that is nice. So yeah, I said I was going to go west, so that's this way. But I want to see what's up here. Oh, this is a very nice meadow, I believe. So one of the things we did for this, for 118, is basically decouple biome generation from terrain shaping. So that's why you get interesting things like those trees up there. You normally wouldn't really get that unless you created a special biome for it. It creates a lot of variation, which we like. And also I'm hoping if we get up high, maybe we can find some iron too, because iron is nice. And like I said, I'm not going to focus on caves. Although, speaking of caves, I take that back. I'm going to have a look at this cave. This is beautiful. This is one of the things we kind of want to be able to happen. We want cave biomes to be able to kind of leak out a little bit from cave entrances, exactly like this. This is exactly what we want to achieve, because it's really, really fascinating and kind of inviting when you see this happen. So hello, lush caves. I'm not going caving officially, but I can't resist. Ah! Okay, I'm not quite ready for this yet. I have a stupid wooden axe. Can I? Okay, well, okay. I'm not gonna be that chicken. There we go. So another thing I really like is the mix of natural lighting inside caves. So we've kind of tried to make it possible to get these cave openings where natural light comes down and provides some variation. But oh yeah, cool. That's great. Are you gonna bother me? Yes, you're gonna bother me. Can I just please just get my coal? Then I'll be right out of here. Move on. And oh, okay, I'm out of here. I know I shouldn't have gone in here. I'm not planning for this to be a combat madness thing, but yeah, I can take a hint. I'm out of here. But how? How am I gonna get out of here? I'm stuck in this cave. Ah! Okay. So, new mission. Get out of this beautiful cave thing alive. Okay, let's at least get some stone tools while we're here. Yes. All right. Let's get out of here using whatever blocks we've managed to accumulate. Is that a way out? Almost. Okay, let's go. All right, I'm out. Now, I've completely lost my bearings. Clouds, which way are you going? That way. Okay, cool. So this brings me, I guess, maybe to the next multi-noise parameter. So I talked about continentalness, right? So bigger number equals more inland in general. E stands for erosion. Higher erosion, we use that basically to make the land flatter. And low erosion makes the land more mountainous and uneven. For example, negative 0.9, that would basically be very hilly or very mountainous terrain or very cliffy terrain. While erosion 0.7, 0.8, high values, then it's basically very flat or kind of swampy type terrain. And yes, those numbers are used both to control the terrain shape and the biome placement. Oh, this is beautiful. So as you see over there, that's a jungle, right? And that brings me to the next, I guess, set of parameters. Let's talk about, yeah, these two. Temperature and humidity, T and H. And those two actually don't impact terrain shaping. They just impact biome placement. And different biomes kind of live in different configurations of these. So jungles are hot and humid. So as that number goes up and that number also goes up, we're more likely to find things like jungle. While deserts are a little more dry, so high temperature and lower humidity means you're more likely to hit a desert. And I don't have a bed and it's becoming night, so I should stop blabbering about that stuff and actually, you know, I forgot to steal beds from the villages. How dumb is that? So I guess this is going to be an exciting night. We will brave the jungle at night and see if we come out alive. But I'll keep this up, so we should probably see temperature and humidity going up as we go near the jungle. Yeah, let's do this. Woohoo! Okay. Yeah, boat is a pretty way to stay safe at night, actually, so that might be an option. Unless he shoots me off it. Oh, haha, hello. Yeah, temperature going up, it's at 0.2. Humidity is also, well, I don't know if it's going up, but it's pretty high already. Let's get off here and see what kills us first. Yeah, jungle, there we go. So temperature 0.2 and humidity 0.6 almost, and we're inside a jungle. I think we're gonna stick with the boat. Bye-bye. So again, here's an example of the terrain shaping versus biome placement thing. This jungle is there because of temperature and humidity. And it doesn't care about terrain shape so much. So it'll just show, adapt to whatever terrain is there. So that's how you can get jungles in flat areas, or jungle on cliffs, or jungles in, up mountains to a certain extent. Creates a lot of variation. Oh, we have our first actual mountain. A really nice one. I bet there's iron there. The nice thing about Stony Peaks is that, iron is visible. So I'm going to brave the night and actually try to get up there. Yeah. So we should see, as we get closer to the mountain, we should see the erosion value. You see it's quite low, right? There, 0.5 almost. So that's where, that mountains like that. Low erosion means mountainous terrain in most cases. So probably it'll go even lower as we go closer. And the most extreme mountains, they show up when we have a combination of high continentalness, which is basically inland, and low erosion. So we kind of call that Tibet internally as our kind of model for what type of terrain we want to see. And the opposite, continental is pretty near zero. Or more like when the erosion is very high, then we'll basically start seeing very flat terrain and we'll typically place swamps there. But yeah, I would like to find some sheep so that I can sleep through the night. So this is an example of an old cave, so-called cave Carver, the old caves. And we've deliberately kept them around because they are easier to, they tend to be quite easy to walk around inside. They tend to have kind of a flat floor. While the new caves, the noise caves, they create a lot more variation, but they're not always as easy to walk around inside. So we kind of keep the old ones around as well. even though they are a bit of a performance hog. Yeah, shield is going to be the first thing that we build when we get iron. Oh, there it is. Iron. Cool. We didn't plan on adding another mountain biome, but we noticed that in like kind of warm areas, it just didn't really look so good that all peaks were snowy or icy. So we wanted to make space for kind of a hot biome variant of peaks. Let's go up here. Oh yes, this is great. Oh, emeralds too. Although I don't need it for this playthrough. I'm a little bit nervous that I haven't actually set my spawn point anywhere, so now that I found this mountain, I kind of don't want to have to go all the way back to world spawn if I die. So let's be careful. So how many did I get? That's good. That's enough for a shield and I guess shears. I like shears because I'm going to be placing beds as we go. Oh, I hate to mess up the terrain like this, but I need to get up there because I need to get up there. That's what's interesting about peaks. They kind of call, like they kind of call you and want you to climb up. It's just, I don't know if it's human nature or something, but if there's a peak, you know, a lot of people just feel this irresistible urge to just want to climb up the peak. Calcite strip. Oh, there was more than I thought up here. I thought that was this would be a single peak, but so let's actually gear up a little bit. We'll make a camp at the top of this peak, and then we'll look around and see where we go next. I like that mountain climbing is kind of a bit of a kind of parkour challenge. You need to finding the best way up is not always obvious, which makes for a fun gameplay. So this is high. I know it's high because I'm above the clouds, and that's high. So let's right here make a bit of a camp. Now can I do a campfire? No. What am I missing now? I got the coal. I got the it's the sticks. All right. There we go. Campfire. Yay! Right here. Cool. We might as well make some food while we're here and take care of this iron. So let's see. Clouds going this way. So that's west. That's our general direction. Oh yeah, I was talking about erosion, right? So let's take a look at that. Erosion is negative 0.6. Not as low as I thought it would be. But still, we got a nice peak here. Oh yeah, that's an important thing. This one down here. PV stands for peaks and valleys. This noise is actually derived from another noise called weirdness over here. So at certain places, when weirdness goes up kind of between -1 and 1, you know, gradually and randomly. But peaks and valleys is like an exaggerated version of that. So for example, when this value is 0, peaks and valleys is going to be -1. It's going to sharply drop to -1. And when it's around where it is now, peaks and valleys kind of sharply goes up. And what this PV noise does, it basically controls things like this. We are right now on a mountain peak. It's like, kind of like a ridge, right? You can follow it. And down there you see kind of a ridge as well. So that ridge is basically where peaks and valleys is kind of high, then it tends to make ridges. And conversely, when peaks and valleys is low, that's when you get, that's not a river, but yeah, rivers basically. So whenever we're inside a river, then peaks and valleys will probably be a negative number. So the combination of the biggest mountains you'll find when continentalness is high, erosion is low, and peaks and valleys is high. So, shield, right? Oh, come on. Too little wood? Okay, we'll make a shield later. We can make the shears, and we can make some better gear. There. So we'll leave the campfire there so that we know that we've been here before. And have a bit of snack. And pick up our stuff. And keep going. Oh yeah, I know what I need. A bucket. So I can get around easier. So let's get off this mountain without dying. All right, here we are. I made it down without dying. And, oh, this is actually good stuff. It's not going to last, but it's good stuff. Depth Strider. Okay. So I'm going to follow this this valley over here. Let's see where it takes us. What's our Y level? 93. Okay, so this... I wonder if this is a saddle valley. Yeah, this is exactly it. This is good. So here it says the peaks and valley noise is negative 0.9. That's about as low as, almost as low as it can get. So this would have been a river. But we set it so that if we're in terrain that is otherwise quite high, so erosion is low and continentalness is not so low, then we don't always want rivers carving through here, because that would be 20 blocks lower. And this would be a gorge. And gorges are really cool, but not if they're all over the place. So in this case, it got lifted up to this nice saddle valley. So it's a valley with kind of mountains on either side, but it's a nice flat area. So instead of this being a super, steep gorge with the river inside it, this is actually an area that I can build stuff on and, run around inside and things. So we try to make, a bit of both. So sometimes rivers will carve gorges through a valley, and sometimes it'll rise up and form this kind of saddle valley. So, okay. Snowy mountains over there. That looks interesting. So let's check it out. I feel pretty lucky with this seed. I'm getting a lot of nice variation. Are we still inside the saddle valley? Yes, all this would have been river. Now it's instead a valley with higher terrain. So it feels like we're low down, but actually, yeah, we're at Y90 here. So we're higher up than it might seem. And at some point, the saddle valley is going to end, and it's going to end up with a kind of small cliff down to a river. So let's keep following this valley until we find that, and then check out this mountain. Oh, it's beautiful. Did I lose the valley? I don't think this is a valley anymore. No, it's not. Okay. What's interesting is, since there's essentially 5 noises here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, each of these... Ah! Okay, listen, I was talking. You don't blow me up when I'm explaining things to our dear players. Okay. So, nobody here? Good. Okay, so, start over. Wow, this is nice. 5 noises, right? So, as I move around in the world, these numbers all change gradually, which means that it's essentially a 5-dimensional coordinate space. So, there's a lot of ways in which the terrain can change. Moving in this direction, if let's say I move in this direction, depending on which of these numbers change and in which direction they change, that's going to impact the terrain. So that makes the terrain very unpredictable and kind of interesting. So even though as a developer, even as a developer, I find it sometimes hard to predict what's actually going to happen. I don't really know. I often get surprised, and that's great. That's exactly what we want. And it's night, and I still don't have any darn sheep. So let's head for the mountains. Naively hoping for safety in there, which I doubt, but we'll see. Oh, I see you. I see both. I see all. What? I see all 3 of you. Jesus, are you guys like preparing to gang up on me? Okay, that's a sheep, but that's a black sheep. What are that? Oh yeah, this is great. Good. I don't want to discriminate against sheep, but I want to have many sheep of the same color. And you guys are all mixed. So how am I going to get a bed if I have a bunch of... I have shears! Why don't I use them? Ah! I'm getting very distracted by the fact that it's night, and the fact that I'm trying to explain things to you guys, and the fact that I'm also trying to look for wool. So if I seem distracted, it's because that's exactly what I am. But I'm alive. I survived a sneak creeper attack, and... Whoa, that's beautiful. Oh, look at that. It's funny, although I've spent so much time with this terrain generation, I still get surprised and kind of amazed by what I see. So, that's a beautiful cave. I kind of want to explore it, and I kind of shouldn't, but I can't resist. I will. And why don't I have any blocks? Damn it. I don't want to waste my hay bales. But I do have a shield now. Do I? No, because I didn't have wood for it. Okay. So let's actually sort that out. I do need a shield. All right, now I'm ready for anything. And now, shouldn't I be wearing this armor? Isn't it more useful if it's actually on me? Yeah. Oh, this is so cool. Some water will come in handy. Which helmet is better? Unbreaking 1 or... I don't know. Haha, I have a shield, boy. Well, okay, I should use it too. So, let's move. So I want to get up on this beautiful snowy mountain. How the heck am I gonna do that? I should probably be wearing my leather boots now, I guess, but yeah, let's see if we manage anyway. Oh, that's a nice coast. So here's an example of the difference, I guess. Now when I looked on the other screen, this is not a snowy mountain anymore. And I think the reason is because temperature, I was about to say because temperature is cold, but it wasn't, so never mind. But I did do some tweaking of when these snowy mountains show up versus when they don't. Because the problem we were having was we would have places where you'd have just a splotch of snow in the middle of some terrain because a mountain almost formed there. Just barely almost formed there. And that ties into a general challenge we have with these noise values. They move up and down, right? So let's say we get to a point where the noise values are exactly at the point where, let's say, snowy slopes should form. But then the noise, one of the noises turns around and goes another direction. So then the snowy slopes end immediately. So then you get this, tiny bit with like 10 blocks of snow, and then it goes away. So it's basically, with the current technology, we can't set a minimum biome size. They'll just be whatever size they are. However, we can tweak the configuration of these noises, like how fast they change and things like that. We can tweak it to make it less likely. So a lot of people have been asking about the so-called microbiomes, and we didn't want to have microbiomes. We didn't design for it, but it is a consequence of the new terrain generation. I guess kind of a price we pay for all this awesome variation. Sometimes we'll also get some things that are a little bit ugly. I don't want to die up here, so okay, I want to go up there actually. So yeah, microbiomes has been a bit of a challenge. It's getting better for every snapshot though. And I've also noticed that it kind of depends on the type of microbiome. Like having a small forest in the middle of plains looks fine. It looks good. We want to keep that. But having a small snowy tundra inside a desert looks horrible. So we mainly try to avoid the harsh collisions. So one of the changes in this snapshot was I noticed that when plateaus form, we would automatically select a colder biome just because it's a plateau. And that sounded like a good idea in theory, but in practice not, because sometimes we would get, a plateau barely forming and then going away again. So then we would have a colder biome barely forming for a little small section of the world. It just looked very ugly. So we changed it so that being on a plateau or not does not impact the temperature of the biome being generated. Okay, this was oh, goats, hello goats. Let's go say hi to the goats and hope they don't push us off. Here, push that guy off, not me. Yeah, push him off. Hey! Come on! Okay. So, oh, hello. No, we can't make a bed yet. But nevertheless, I think I'm gonna do the campfire thing up here. Because I also need more food. And as usual... Whoa. Hey! You did it! You whacked me! Cool. I'm glad I'm still on the mountain. Yeah, so... Okay. No campfire because I don't have a log and there's no logs up here. When will I learn? Yep. So we'll move on. And I think I'm going to follow this ridge. Okay, we'll get on the ridge, enjoy the sunrise, and maybe I will talk some more. I don't know if it's, if it's interesting. Like, let me know in the comments if you enjoy these little kind of tech things, kind of describing how things work. I know that when I tweet about those kind of things, people tend to appreciate it and say that it's very interesting to know kind of how things work behind the scenes. So that's why I'm taking time to stop and explain things a little bit. So we'll go to the top here and then have a little chit chat. Hey, that's a tree, so I can make my stupid campfire actually. So let's actually do that. So this commonly happens when you have a ridge going around like that, and then lower terrain in the middle. Then typically some other non-mountainous biome will form in the middle, which usually makes for some really nice kind of Shangri-La type mountain valleys. Or also, it can also create something that looks like a dormant volcano or something, because yeah, this kind of crater up in the mountain between the ridges. So let's go up there, and if I get yeeted off the mountain by a goat and die, I will consider that an honor. That's a cool way to die. Whoa! That's not a cool way to die. That's a dumb way to die. Okay, I guess I should be smart and stop and eat here, but I'm gonna be a bit gutsy because I kind of want to go to the top there. But I'm gonna be extra careful. Famous last words. So I'm gonna be extra careful. Well, it just goes on and on. And I have a half heart. And I shouldn't be climbing mountains on a half heart, but what the heck. Up we go. I haven't bumped into any powder snow so far, which I guess is a good thing because I'm not wearing my leather boots. But, oh, whoa, okay. Maybe it will be a goat that kills me after all. Here we go. This, my friends, is the spot. This is definitely the spot. There, and some food. And do we have other more tasks to do? No. Well, I do have some other food to grill as well. So let's actually be a bit lazy and do that. And this. And that. And this. So yeah, I was going to talk a bit. So let's see, what else do we have here? So these are the noise values, right? Continentalness is how far inland we are. Erosion is basically how mountainous we are, although it's the opposite. Low valley means high mountains. Temperature, humidity impact the choice of biome, although biomes are also impacted by these first two. And weirdness indirectly drives the peaks and valleys noise. But weirdness also, when it flips between negative and positive, that also influences which biome variant we get. So for example, if we are in plains, sometimes we're going to be in the flowery plains instead, and then it might be a negative value. Same thing with like jungle versus bamboo forest or bamboo jungle. Down here, biome builder, this is basically the categorized version of these numbers. So each interval has a name. So for example, or actually not all intervals do, but for example, the continentalness of 0.232 is within the interval that we call mid-inland. If we go near a coast, this number goes down, and finally it'll say coast there, for example. And same thing with these numbers, erosion and temperature and humidity. We basically slice them up into intervals, and each interval has a number. So this is a very low erosion value, so that's erosion 0, or erosion index 0. When that goes up, we'll after a while hit erosion index 1. And I think it goes all the way up to 5 or 6. And that's what biomes care about. Whenever that number changes, we are at a threshold which may switch which biome we're in. So we're at erosion index 0, temperature index 2, humidity index 4. Okay, enough blabbering. Let's actually have some breakfast or some lunch. I guess it's lunch. So note to self, while I'm traveling, no, the campfire is supposed to stay there. Oh, okay, the sticks get lost, don't they? No? What am I missing now? Ah, the logs. Okay. I think this whole episode is going to be the story of Henrik's failures to make campfires. Okay. In fact, my failure to make camps in general. I envisioned, a bed and a campfire and maybe a chest to dump some stuff in and kind of making mini camps every night. But I guess that's Minecraft for you. Things don't always turn out as planned. Floating blocks. This is one of those things, kind of, famous Minecraft quirkiness things. And it is actually possible for us to... We could eliminate floating blocks entirely by just changing some numbers. We could make it impossible to happen. But if we did that, we would also make some really interesting terrain impossible to happen. So everything would become more predictable, more kind of samey, and it would be kind of boring. So we prefer to keep the configuration in such a way that we allow for crazy terrain, including floating blocks, because it just makes the game more interesting and enjoyable. But the rule of thumb is, like, the majority of the crazy stuff should be good crazy versus just bad crazy. Okay. Hello, goat. What? Oh, okay, you're jumping around. So, this is actually quite interesting. This, we are at low erosion, very low erosion, right? Negative 0.8, and we are hitting a coast because Continentalness is approaching 0. So that means it says mid-inland now, right? As we go closer to the coast, that's going to change to coastal or near inland. Yeah, they're changed, right? Going back, mid-inland, going forward, near inland. That's because coastal, the C value went below a certain threshold, I guess 0.3 in this case. And when we get low enough, we're actually, whoa, that's dangerous. When we get low enough, we're actually going to, it's going to turn into ocean. It basically lowers the terrain dramatically when we hit the coast. And what's interesting is the shape of the terrain depends on what was the erosion at when we hit the coast. So here we have high erosion, or it's more like we have very low erosion and a coast. So therefore we get cliffs, because low erosion means mountainous kind of cliffy terrain. So that's what generates these awesome, crazy, cool cliffs. If we were at a high erosion area, which means flat terrain near sea level, we would be seeing flat beaches and flat terrain. So it's the combination of these noises that makes for interesting terrain variation. Let me quickly check, what did the old world look like, or the old snapshot? Kind of similar still. Yeah, the changes are quite minor. They're going to be not noticeable in most cases, but hopefully we'll see fewer microbiomes. I also made some changes to aquifers. We might take a look at that actually, because you should be able to find ocean caves better now. You should be able to see, on the ocean floor, you should be able to see cave entrances that actually lead to someplace. So yeah, this is a good example. So erosion is now, we're at erosion index 1, and over there it's flat. So probably erosion is going to keep going up as we go this direction. It's at negative 0.7 now, right? Or erosion index 1. And soon we'll hit a threshold, and erosion index will go to 2 probably. So one of our hopes is that you know, kind of map makers will, and like creators will be able to take these like make their own configuration of terrain shaping and biome placement, so you can create your own custom worlds that may be completely different from this, just by playing around with the configuration. So we're still erosion 1. Erosion is still becoming higher and higher, so we should hit another threshold at some point. I thought I had more food than that. Okay, I've been jumping around. Okay, sorry pigs, but you know. Oh, wait a sec. I got these things, but I want to use those for campfires. So, yep, sorry pigs. Oh, sheep. Thank you. Okay, no more tech talk. I'm going to focus on actually getting beds so we can stop having to fight our way through the nights. Thank you. Because this is going to be tonight's camping spot. And this one, actually, I want to see this one from a distance because I'm not on a mountaintop. So let's do this. Higher smoke. We put hay bale under campfires. And I should be able to make a bed. Wonderful. Okay. So where were we? Yeah, erosion. Nobody attacking me. Good. Whoa, this is beautiful. This is beautiful. Let's just stand here and admire the view for a while. Wow. I love the combination, and this is something we've worked hard for. The combination of flat, big flat areas like this, well, flat-ish, and then kind of surrounded by mountains and peaks of various sorts. Because, you know, what good are mountains and cliffs if you can't see them? Because when you're in them, you can't really see them. But if you're kind of a little bit away from them, then you can see them and admire them. And the same thing in the other direction, if I'm standing on top of a peak and look down on a big flat area, that's also really beautiful. Erosion, still 1. Okay, so there goes my theory. I thought this would be a higher erosion area, but I guess not. Well, let's move on. Let's actually check that thing about the caves underwater. I also want to mention something about aquifers. Let's actually do that here. Hey, are you friendly? You're friendly. Good. This here is an aquifer, or more like this is a cave. Okay. It is probably a noise cave, maybe a Carver. And the way it works is when caves are being kind of dug out, they may or may not place water, and water is decided by aquifers. So an aquifer is basically a part of the world where there is a local water level. And what we've noticed is if the water level here would be different from sea level, right? Let's say the water, because here this water level is at Y63, which is sea level. If this bit here would have a lower water level, it looks kind of ridiculous. So what we've done is we've made the aquifers take into account if we're near rivers or coasts or not. You can see that right here. It says near water, right? As I move inland, that's going to change. And as we go further and further in, it's after a while going to decide that we're not near water. What? Is all this near water? Should probably configure this a little bit because this isn't very near water. So what this means is any caves generating right here are going to use sea level. So in this case, I would say that's probably wrong because we aren't near water. So I would want caves here to be dry. Like, for example, okay, oh, here, good. It just ended, right? Let's go back. Where did it end? Here, near water, right? And as we go over here, no longer near water, which means we got lucky because that's what allows this cave to be actually a cave entrance, right? We could go down here and find caves. But if this was near water, then this would have all been sea level. And again, the reason for that is because we noticed that local water level looks really ugly when it's right near coastlines. All right, I'm back at camp, and because I realize I need some food. But while cooking, let's talk about the water. So these caves, noise caves and Carvers, can also form inside oceans. And the challenge there is, as you swim into them, we don't want aquifers to kind of collide with each other. We don't want hanging water. So as you swim down an ocean and you end up in a cave, quite often you don't end up in a cave because it just gets blocked off because that cave is dry. And if you swim straight down and there's a dry cave, we don't want the water to just be hanging in the air. However, now I've made up some tweaks that makes it a little more likely that you'll find water-filled caves beneath the ocean and be able to swim through them and be able to come up inside a non-water-filled cave. It's a little bit hard to find, but it can happen a lot more often than in the past. So I doubt we'll find one now unless we get really lucky, but let's at least have a look. And at the very least, we should be able to find ocean caves that at least we can swim into. While in last snapshot, which I'm looking at right next to me, basically you would very rarely find caves on ocean floors, and if you do find them, they will almost immediately end in a barrier or something, so that you can't go below. Let's take a swim. Oh yeah, we'll probably need a door. It's really dumb, this door thing, but it's convenient, so we're keeping it for now. Because, yeah, basically doors are like the early game version of, stopping to breathe underwater because doors are not waterloggable. So there are a lot of quirks in the game, and we tend to keep the quirks in the game if they solve a problem that isn't solved in any other way. So early game ability to dive down solved by doors right now. Okay. So, we got very lucky. We immediately found one. So this kind of, I'm looking at my other screen, and there is no ravine here. It got blocked off immediately. I might need to brighten this part. Oh, this is a perfect example. Yeah, actually it's not a perfect example, but it's a good example. I'm inside water caves that definitely were not generating last snapshot. In fact, this right here, looking at my other screen, is a dry cave in the last snapshot. Of course, dry caves are good, right? We don't want everything to be too flooded. But because it's a dry cave, you would not be able to swim into it from above. While here, it's a wet cave, so you could swim into it. And with a bit of luck, we could swim from a wet cave into a dry cave. So here's the thing about Carvers. This is a Carver Carvers always dead end. They're kind of designed for it because carvers have a finite size. And the only reason why you can find connected caves in Minecraft 1.17 and earlier is because, you know, carvers always dead end, but they sometimes meet other carvers, and then the system continues. So that's a nice thing about noise caves, is they're not limited in that way. They can continue forever, basically. So if you find a lot of dead ends, it's probably because we're in the old carvers. But as I mentioned before, they still have a place in the caves, at least for now. Wasn't I just over here before? I feel like I'm just going back and forth. Yeah, I have mixed feelings about the door trick. It's kind of funny and quirky, but also a bit immersion breaking. Like, it doesn't really make sense. It's dark. I can't see. Okay, I'm starting to panic here. I'm not claustrophobic, but this is claustrophobic. Don't die. Not like this. Okay, but I've at least managed to establish that we now can get ocean caves and ocean carvers. And that's nice, because that was actually on the to-do list. So magma should be showing up in these caves, and I actually just increased it a little bit, but yet I'm not seeing any, so maybe it should be increased further. And don't tell me, am I gonna have to dig my way out of this cave? Yeah, I feel like I'm just going around in circles. Is there a way out of here? Okay, let's dig. I'm lost. I will admit I am utterly and completely lost. Okay, so the plan is dig our way into that wall there and then dig our way up. All right, sound like a plan? Yeah, sounds like a plan. Some iron. We've increased the iron rates, not this snapshot, but last snapshot. And hopefully it's a bit better balanced now. Okay. Cool. Oh, great. But we do have a camp, don't we? No, 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 leave me alone. No! I said leave me alone. Where's my camp? Hey! Smoke. Useful. Oh! Okay, why am I getting food before sleeping instead of after sleeping? Alright, we got some food now. I'll let you live. I have enough food. We'll cook a little bit more. And while doing that, I'll explain another thing. Some of these noises are 3D noises, others are 2D noises. And what I mean by that is, let's say I'm going to tower up a little bit, right? Continentalness and erosion are examples of 2D noises. They don't change as I go up. They stay the same. So they only change when you go horizontally. While temperature and humidity are 3D noises. So you can see the numbers change, right? They can go up or down. And the reason for that is because temperature and humidity aren't used for terrain shaping. They're only used for biome placement. And biomes are 3D because there might be lush caves down here somewhere. And lush caves only show up in a certain temperature interval. So by having this vary vertically, that means that an underground biome could show up in a specific vertical range. So I could find a lush cave, and then below it, there might be some other, underground biome. So that's why temperature and humidity are 3D noises, while the others are 2D noises. But let's continue our journey. Let's go to the ocean. In fact, I'm kind of curious, how big is that ocean? So we're working quite hard to find a balance because, the new terrain generation is really cool and interesting, but there's also value in the old and familiar and traditional Minecraft. We don't want to, just break all ties with history. Like, Minecraft is a super popular game for a reason. So we want to respect the history of Minecraft and how Minecraft looks like, and we want Minecraft 1.18 to feel like it's still Minecraft. It's not some new game. So a balance between new and cool terrain versus old and familiar. Oh yeah, so here we can see continentalness is negative. It means we're in the ocean. And there's land, so that means that land got created because continentalness went back up again. Oh, I love jumping dolphins. So this coastline is somewhat rough because erosion is negative. And over here, it looks like we have a flatter coastline. So I bet erosion is going to be higher over there. So we're at erosion 3 right now. That was a pretty well placed pillager outpost. They have like a view over the coast here, can defend it. Yeah, erosion 4. So now we're at more high erosion land, which means flat. And if erosion gets really high, then we get to swamps. Yep, this is definitely a flat area. So I haven't talked about caves so much. That might be another episode, but the hole here was not created by terrain shaping. It was not influenced at all by these multi-noise parameters. Instead, there's a whole different set of noises that are not visible in the F3 screen. And those noises will decide whether we should be placing, you know, cave entrances and carving out big chunks of land and things like that. So that's what happened here. So we're still heading west-ish. I kind of found most of what I'm looking for, but I guess if there's something I would like to find before calling it quits is really a hot biome. Seeing some Badlands, a desert or something, just to check that everything is okay there. And again, obviously I could just fly around and check, but survival, when testing in survival, I tend to notice things that I would miss otherwise, small details. Oh yeah, I haven't talked about factor. Where is it? Am I blind? There, F505. F stands for factor. It's a dumb name, but it's basically like when the world is created, it's basically all like that. Like there's no surface. It's just a crazy mess of stone and air all over the place. It's crazy. Imagine like shattered terrain, but times 10. And then all that gets flattened down by some factor, and that's what this means. So when the factor is high, then the terrain is flatter. And when the factor is low, then we see more of the original unflattened version of the crazy terrain that is used in the beginning of terrain generation. So we've configured the world so that factor also varies. So let's watch that number, right? Let's get on land. Right. So factor is 388 right now. As that number goes down, normally I think the default is around 600 when you're running around, and most terrain has 600, which is pretty much typically plains type flatness, right? And this is independent of like the plateaus and mountains. This is added on top, right? But some parts of the world are configured to get more 3D noise. Just 3D noise is our term for this kind of thing. And as that number goes down, we'll see the terrain get more and more crazy. Ouch. So factor is 299, and as we go here, factor goes down to 163 and 138, and there we go, 80. That's about as low as it gets. You won't find any place that goes lower than 80. This is what we call shattered terrain. If you go to old Minecraft and go and find a shattered savanna, which is really hard to find, by the way, you can't see these numbers on the debug screen, but factor will be 80. And factor 80 basically creates that kind of terrain, sometimes even crazier. But we have some places in the world where we set factor to, let's say, 200 or so. And 200 or 175, that's basically the old mountains that are now called extreme hills. So factor is still 80. So factor doesn't automatically mean that the terrain is crazy. It just means that it can get crazy. Factor is still 80. And again, here it says near water. So any caves around here are going to use sea level. And what's nice about that, I don't know if we'll see that here, but it creates really cool cave entrances that kind of look very piratey. Yeah, we'll keep an eye out for those kinds of cave entrances. The nice thing about this F3 screen is if I see something really strange in the terrain that looks kind of broken, like why did this biome show up here, or why did this terrain look like this, I can look at those numbers and I can look at the code and I can analyze exactly why that happened. And then it's easier to debug and improve the terrain. But it's, again, our goal is not to eliminate all strange terrain. Sometimes things are going to be allowed to look crazy and stupid because it's worth it, because that's also that same code that gives us stupid terrains is also what gives us interesting terrain. So as long as the interesting terrain like that's like really interesting. As long as the proportion is right, like most terrain that looks crazy should be crazy in a nice looking way, rather than just a bad looking way. And this is a perfect example. You'd almost think that I planned this, that I kind of scouted in advance, but you know, this is random. I just created a seed and popped in and ran around, and wow, This is amazing. So is this factor? Yeah, factor 200. That's a good example of that. So some parts of the world at factor 200, you'll see terrain that is kind of interesting and crazy, but not, you know, shattered savanna level of craziness. And it's a nice complement to the more realistic looking new mountains, because the new mountains look fairly realistic. But if everything is realistic, that's boring, right? We want Minecraftiness, and Minecraftiness is this. So a combination of Minecraftiness and realism, and sometimes exaggerated realism, like a mountain that is kind of realistic but over the top, like exaggerating everything. And that's also something that we kind of like, just to, you know, inspire people, right? Another nice thing about kind of semi-broken terrain, let's say a river that gets cut off in this one place, or a village where the houses are kind of disconnected because there's a big ravine between them. All those kind of glitches, although they might seem a little bit ugly, they invite the player to do something, right? As a player, you'd be inclined to maybe connect those two, you know, houses with a bridge over the ravine. And yeah, it just gives you stuff to do and lets you feel like the hero of the story. Factor 200, yeah. So as you see, it's quite up and down here. It's quite, you know, messy. And that's also the case in earlier, you know, in Minecraft 1.17, some biomes had more 3D noise. So forests, for example, always have 3D noise more than plains. With this terrain generation, we've kind of decoupled that. So we've basically said that some parts of the world have more 3D noise, regardless of what biome happens to be there. And that's nice because, again, variation. You can get a super flat forest, or you can get a plains that's not quite super flat, just like in reality. So what are we looking for? I guess I said, oh yeah, a hot biome. So let's let that be our last goal. Find a really hot biome. Check that things look okay. And if so, then we call it quits. And then maybe we have something snapshotable. We kind of don't really, like, this is interesting. In one sense, we'd want to get rid of this, right? We want to say that river should connect to this one, always. But actually that's wrong, because suppose I'm riding a horse, and I didn't manage to get a horse this time, which is a bummer, but if I'm riding a horse, it's really nice to find things like this, right? I can cross the river with a horse. But one change we did for this snapshot was actually make horses follow golden apples and golden carrots, which they should, and they do in Bedrock, so that's also a parity thing. They're pretty slow at swimming, but that means that if you do need to cross a wide river, this river wouldn't really be a problem. But let's say here you want to cross this wide river with a horse, it's a pain. But now with this change, you can at least, if you manage to get a hold of a golden apple, which I did here, or a golden carrot, which isn't really that hard to get a hold of, then you can lead your horse across. Of course, a lead would work too, but they're sometimes a bit hard to get a hold of. So we want people to be able to get around the world on horse, basically. And hopefully this should help that. Yeah, here's another good example of the near water thing, right? It says near water here. That means this is not part of the river, because it doesn't say valley here, right? Peaks and valleys is not valley, which means that the river is basically over here. It should say valley soon. Yeah. And the river technically ended here. But then a noise cave happened. And because we're near water, that noise cave that aquifer is forced to use sea level, which means that this noise cave doesn't even look like a cave. It's disguised. It looks like the river continues, but happens to get really deep, which is really interesting. So now you can go like, whoa, way down here and find a cave system maybe. And if we're lucky, we would find a dry cave. A nice thing about this kind of system with the noises is, even though as a player you should never need to look at this, you shouldn't have to care. It's just if you're interested in the technology, or if you're gonna make custom worlds, this kind of stuff is super interesting. As a player, you don't really need to care about it, but indirectly you're affected by it, because you can learn as a player that, oh look, Savannah, that's kind of dry and hot. If I keep going in that direction, I'm probably more likely to find other hot biomes, such as deserts and Badlands. Just like in reality, right? If you get in a generally hotter climate, you're more likely to find hotter biomes. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to go there in hopes of finding even hotter lands. We weren't really planning on making aquifers in the beginning of this update. We kind of felt that would be cool, but we'll see if we have time. But we were forced to, because we noticed that if we don't do that, then all the caves will be water-filled below sea level automatically, just because of the way Minecraft works. So we realized that we have to make aquifers, otherwise all caves are flooded. But I'm glad we did, because they were really hard to do. The technology was pretty complicated. but it turned out really nice, I find. And it really does add spice to the underground when you can find like you know, a big lake or even an underground sea, or travel by boat, waterfalls, etc. It just makes the underground really interesting. So I'm near the top of a hill and it's becoming night, so I would say that's our perfect cue for making the next camp. Right here. Please tell me I can make a bed. Yes, I can. There! So let's follow the savannah and see if it takes us to a desert. I like that terrain, this terracing. That's very nice. Oh, that's what I was talking about. Perfect. Yeah. When the noise caves and carvers are forced to obey the rule of, you know, sea level and coastalness, that allows this to happen. So I don't know if that is a river or not, but there the river ends, and this would have been just a cliffside, but a cave happened to form there. And that cave was forced, or that aquifer was forced to use sea level, which means you get this really cool looking cave that kind of the river continues in. And it can continue really far if you're lucky. You can basically get, you know, if you're lucky, you could just travel by boat under this whole plateau and come out on the other side, which is absolutely fascinating. A funny note about aquifers, this whole thing about local water levels is completely unrealistic. In reality, if you're in caves below sea level, they will almost always be water filled, unless you happen to find some kind of gas pocket at high pressure, in which case you wouldn't be able to breathe or be there anyway. So that's where we decided that gameplay trumps realism. It's fun to be able to go deep in the underground and find a lake down there and swim into the lake and somehow pop up into the ocean. That's completely crazy, but fun. I don't know. Okay, come on. That was lucky. Okay. So I'm gonna try to find vantage points so we can kind of look around for deserts or badlands. We had a lot of, you know, kind of trouble configuring Badlands, because Badlands are one of those biomes that really don't work as microbiomes. It looks horrible when you get a tiny Badland, so they kind of should be big when they show up. And because we technically, wait a sec, wow, this is pretty cool terracing. But anyway, because we technically can't set a minimum size for a biome, we have to kind of tinker with the noise configurations to make it at least less likely to happen. So that's what we've done with Badlands, and now they tend to be large. In fact, they sometimes tend to be too large. But that's, I guess, a trade-off we've made. Oh, speaking of which, look at that. Let's go, check it out. Wow. Let's just have a quick look at this. Yeah, here you can see exactly what happened. Coastal, right? Or near ocean. We're not near water now, technically. But somewhere over here, that threshold happened, near water. So here we're near water, therefore we must use sea level. And over here, we're not near water, therefore the aquifer gets to randomly decide to see a water level. In this case, it decided to set the water level really low. So it places a barrier automatically to avoid the water just hanging there. And it allows for holes in the barrier to allow for waterfalls. So that's why this happened. Again, not realistic, but definitely fun. It's a lot of interesting kind of cliffside cave entrances here. I like this area. A bit of a pain to get around, but it's cool. This is a nice big savanna, actually. In the beginning, I thought we would have to tone down the cave entrances a bit. I was planning to do that. I thought there was a little bit too many crazy big cave entrances. But then when I noticed that a lot of people, you know, were tweeting and making YouTubes and kind of showing off really cool big cave entrances, and kind of it was generating a lot of excitement. So I decided to not tone them down as much as planned and kind of leave them, let them be crazy. Of course, they shouldn't be everywhere, but I'm leaving more big cave entrances than originally planned because people seem to like them. And that's what's great about these snapshots, because, yeah, as developers, we have our own preferences and we have our own guesses about player preferences. But at the end of the day, you know, this should be a game for everyone, not just a game for us. So we listen to community feedback and then try to kind of make an informed decision about how the world should look like based on that feedback. So depending on how hot and how dry it is, we get desert or badlands. Here's an example. Not great. Or actually, maybe it's okay. I think this is one of those cases where different players have different preferences. But, oh, look at this. A geode down there. A cave entrance under the water down there. It's, yeah, just interesting stuff hiding everywhere. But yeah, some players would say this is ugly. Others would say, oh, this is really nice. It's like an oasis in the desert or something. But whatever you feel about it, the reason why it happens is, if we look at these threshold values, right? We're at erosion index 2, temperature index 4, humidity index 2, right? And these biomes care about temperature and humidity. So let's watch those numbers, right? Temperature 4, humidity 2. There. Humidity became 3. So it got just a little bit more humid. And that was enough to toggle, you know, this jungle edge biome instead of desert. And that would have been fine if it continued that way. But then we got up here and humidity is now going back down again because it's random, right? So humidity goes back to... Oh no, sorry. What happened here was actually... Let's see. Yeah, what is happening here? Why is it... Why are we at Badlands here? Does it have to do with whether we're near inland or not? Alright, I'm going to figure this out. I'm curious now. Why is there Badlands here? I'll be right back. I'm going to figure this out. Alright, so I slept on it a little bit and I looked at the configuration. And so here's the thing. Mid-inland. We are in mid-inland here. And normally high temperature, this is the highest temperature index. Normally that means Badlands. But as we go down, so the question really was, why is there not Badlands here if it's hot? Well, that's because we switched from mid-inland to near-inland, which means Continentalness went down from 0.035 to below 0.3, which I guess is a threshold. So because we're starting to near the coast, we don't want Badlands right near the coast. That's why there's jungle edge here. But then the question is, why does it then become Badlands again over here? Or more like, why did it become desert down here? And the reason why it became desert was because it suddenly became drier. So we had this double shift happening. We got closer to the coast here, so suddenly it becomes jungle edge. And then it became drier, so it suddenly became desert. So those two things in combination caused this little tiny jungle. And I was a little bit curious because over here it says, like up in the Badlands, it says mid-inland. So this combination of different values basically gives us plateau territory. You can see lots of plateaus here. It looks kind of cool. And Badlands is configured to kind of want to be generated there. But then as we go down here, Continentalness goes down. Or at least when we go here, here it says near inland. But then when we keep going towards what looks like the coast, Continentalness is going up again. So I was a little bit curious about why. I mean, that looks like a coast to me. And going all the way down here, looking at the number, it's still a positive number. And I'm literally in the water now. And it says mid-inland. So I'm going even more inland now than before. So this is a river. This whole darn thing is a river. Pretty crazy, huh? And you can see that here. It says valley there. Hey, my God! What do you guys... Oh, do you want to hear about this? You want to listen? Okay, yeah. So this is a valley, technically, which means it's a river. And not a lake or ocean. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. What do you think? It's a little bit crazy. But yeah, it looks beautiful. So maybe it's okay. And as we go up here, it says we're now out of the river. So this is not a river anymore. This is actually still a wooded Badlands plateau. So in case you're wondering, we are inside wooded Badlands plateau right now. Right? Got it? Yeah? Anything else you guys are wondering over there? Cool? Great. Can I go now? Yeah. Okay. Thank you for listening. There. Let's go. One of them was out fishing. So it wasn't a bug. It was just a quirk. Another quirk is this, that the leaves become kind of dry as we start blending these two biomes. I don't know if it's a good or bad thing, but it is a thing. We'll see what we do about it, if we do anything about it. Personally, I think it's kind of cool. Dead bushes everywhere is wrong. It shouldn't be dead bushes everywhere, but I don't think we need to debug that right now. It's not high priority. So I think we're about to wrap this up now. I'm just going to get up to the top of this just because I'm curious, how big is this Badlands? Because it looks pretty darn big, I must say. The Badlands in 118 don't really look like in 117, but I think they look better because 117 Badlands look really nice, but they tend to look the same because they're designed, they're coded to look in a very specific way. Here, they're subject to a lot more randomness. So there are some Badlands that are really ugly, but overall, I think they're more interesting. You get a lot more variation. And also sometimes you get Badlands mountains, peaks, essentially. And those look amazing. Let's see if we can find one. We are in fairly low erosion areas, so maybe we'll get lucky and find a Badlands mountain. I keep finding one more thing I want to do, but actually I should go eat breakfast because it's early morning here. And I'm really hungry. I know that like during development we find that if we can't stop playing, if we keep wanting to play and keep wanting to explore and look around the next corner or look over the next mountaintop, that's a good sign. That means we're on the right track. And I find that happens a lot nowadays. So I feel pretty happy about the terrain generation now. So the fixes we're making now are mainly kind of like just the last things, the last major issues. And I think we got them kind of under control now, so that we can focus on performance, because performance is the most important thing right now, I would say, now that the terrain is starting to look decent. I kind of like how Badlands interacts with deserts like this. And I think I see mountains over there. Let's run over there. All right, so I climbed up to the top of this Badlands plateau, and I see some beautiful stuff around. I don't see any Badlands mountains though. So I think I'm gonna call this a day. It's been super fun exploring, and I'm really happy to share this with you. So I'm gonna end the day by making my final camp. Campfire. And I don't have coal, so I can't make a campfire. Oh well. Anyway, thanks for watching. Have a nice day or night or wherever you are.